All right, everyone. Let's continue on with our journey through TDCJ, going back to the academy. I had gotten my acceptance letter in the mail, and it had some rudimentary instructions about what we could and couldn't bring. You couldn't bring tobacco products into where we were going to be. Now, there was a main academy building, but there was also what was affectionately known as the log cabin. It could be rented out for parties. TDC, as it was known back in the day, used to be a much more family-oriented organization. There was housing, events, the rodeo, and the log cabin was one of those that a lot of TDC families would rent out for retirements, promotions, parties, that kind of thing. It was closest to the Goree unit, which is a rather old facility. I believe it's actually on its premises, and it was called the log cabin because, well, that's what it was made of on the outside. When you got on the inside, it was brick, pretty well structured, and it was a big size. I say cabin, don't think of a cabin in the woods. It was designed for retirement ceremonies. People might have gotten married in there. I'm not exactly sure. Well, at this time, it was used as an overflow for the academy. There was a huge influx, for whatever reason, in 2012, 2013. I think because the bonus had increased. I don't remember what it was back then. I want to say that at one point it was around $1,800. I think it had increased to almost $3,000. So I know there were a lot of people coming in to get that bonus. So because there were so many, we weren't going to the main academy, which was located next to, which one was it? The Ellis unit. We were using the log cabin for academy classes. So I had gotten my letter in the mail. We couldn't have tobacco. You could smoke tobacco in the parking lot, and that was it. Your cell phone, we had to leave that in our car. You couldn't bring it inside the academy building. Nowhere that there was inside state premises, if that makes sense. Nowhere in housing could you have phones. The academy building, anywhere that inmates were going to have access. Now, at the log cabin, in the academy building, there were SSIs that worked there. They mainly cleaned, and I know 100% for a fact they trafficked out whatever they could get, whatever we threw away in the garbage, water bottles, Powerade bottles from the drink machine, snack wrappers, they could make things out of that, coffee, okay? So on the front, they were there for cleaning, but in reality, they were a big source of traffic and traders. So anywhere that they had access to, we couldn't have cell phones, tobacco, none of that. It listed that the hours for the academy would be Monday through Friday. I want to say on the paperwork it said 8 to 1600, 1600 being military time for 4 o'clock. The way you can tell military time, if you want to know what 5 o'clock in the evening is, take 12, add 5 to that, 17, add 2 zeros, 1700. 10 o'clock, add 10 to 12, 2200, all the way up until you get to 2400, which is midnight, or 0000. Anyway, those are the hours it listed. It stated that we would be provided for free 3 meals a day, and if we required housing, once we got to the academy, a barracks room could be provided for us on a case-by-case basis. I lived approximately hour and a half or so. A drive from Beaumont to Huntsville could take, give or take, hour and a half to 2 hours. There was a lot of bad construction on the interstate there, so it took a little while once you would hit that construction. So I knew that I would want a barracks room. So I packed a bag with enough clothes to stay for 5 days, give or take. a couple of pairs of pants, some decent shirts, polo style, some undershirts, garments. I packed enough toiletries because I knew that wasn't going to be provided, and some workout, what would you say, some workout attire. Okay, so I had all that packed up. The paperwork listed the address. Cool, good. We started Monday morning at, it was still dark outside in April, so I think it might have been 6:45, give or take. I just remember getting there real early. I woke up, I left the house probably around 3 a.m. Got there, and I actually passed it up. I ended up going into the Goree unit, and when you drive into one of the max security facilities, there's usually, depending on the time of day, staff availability, there's a corrections officer that's there to check your ID and to check the vehicle, make sure you're not, taking an inmate in or taking an inmate out with you. Met with the guard, he asked for my ID. I said, first day at the academy, I'm supposed to be going to, I think it's called the log cabin. He's like, well, you done made your first mistake. You breached security here by coming in here without any kind of state issued ID. If you look over there to your right, log cabin's right over there. You need to back this thing up. I was in a Nissan Sentra car. You need to back this thing up, get out of here. You're violating security procedures. I'm thinking, what the fuck is wrong with this dickhead? Did you catch your wife cheating on you or something? Or made coffee and put salt in it? So what the hell is wrong with this guy? Not knowing anything at all about COs, okay? It's just an attitude. So I backed out, cool. Got back on the roadway. I had to circle because it was a one-lane service road. I had to make a circle, come on around, pulled into the log cabin. Cool, great. Pretty big parking lot. By this time, people were already there. Beverage pause. That's good. That was one thing I didn't want to do on camera, was drink or eat anything, because I thought it would distract from it, but you don't realize how dry your throat gets when you actually try and film this kind of stuff, so at least now I can stay hydrated. So I pulled into the parking lot. I had on polo shirt, blue jeans, black boots, cool. Had my bags and everything in the back. I didn't use suitcases. Used to military travel. I had the typical green duffel bags that you see service members carrying. Had all that in the car, and people were already kind of milling around the parking lot, and you kind of go over, find a group. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Jesse. Yeah, I came from such and such. Where are you working at? I'm signed to the Styles. Styles? Oh, man. Oh, good luck with that. And, just random jibber jabbing and all. And I remember there was this one guy, he had his radio really loud in his car, like thumping. And one of the instructors came out. I didn't know it at the time. She was a sergeant. Her name was Ramona. I believe her last name, good Lord. Oh, I don't remember her name now. I'm sorry. Anyway, she came out, got not too close to the car, and yelled at what I thought at the time was the top of her lungs, "Turn that fucking bullshit off right now." Knife-handed. That's where you take all four fingers and your thumb, extend them out, not a one-finger point. Knife-handed the car, yelled at the dude. Music turned off. She turned around and stormed back into the building. I'm going, man, period much? That was our first, what would you say, experience into the attitudes that the instructors were going to have. I thought at the time it was a little overbearing. I get it now. It's to get you ready for the realities of prison. That hadn't set in yet. So at that point, another instructor had come out, and you could tell the instructors because they wore red polo shirts. At a minimum, they had to be a sergeant, so they would have their three-stripe chevrons pinned up on their collars. Lieutenant wore a single bar. We rarely saw a lieutenant after the introductions and the admin days. Captain, almost never. Captain would wear two connected silver bars, a little bit of space in between them, called them the railroad tracks. And the academy was run by a major. Major was denoted by a golden oak leaf that they wore up on their collars. Very similar to, actually not very similar, identical to military ranks. So, one of the instructors had come out, big dude, big black dude, muscled up, just bald head, slick, shiny, not an old guy. If I had to guess, maybe 30s-ish. I say that like it's old. I'm in my 40s now. Came out and yelled at us, "Everyone who's here to report for TDCJ Academy, get in here right now." I'm like, whoa. Boot camp all over again. Okay. So some of them started running, and they get to the door and they're bumping into each other. Those of us that have been through the military, we kind of swaggered, strode, took our time. Like, all right, okay, cool. What's the show here? We get inside the log cabin, and the best way that I can paint the picture to you, picture a big, an empty auditorium style room with the tables that have the metal fold out legs and the metal rim up underneath it. The real old school kind, like you might find at school picnics. They're very heavy. The ones back then, the metal legs were very sturdy, solid, and metal folding chairs. I think there were 3 of us at each table. I don't remember exactly. I just know we all filed in, we sat down, and the lieutenant came out. She introduced herself, told all of us to stand up out of the chairs. Everything that was inside of our pockets, take it out, put it down on the table. Don't touch anything once it's on the table. So I took my wallet out, I took my keys out. Everybody else did the same thing. And at this point, she walked around and checked what the contents were. We weren't supposed to have knives, tobacco, lighters, basically nothing. Some of the ladies had pictures on their keychain of their families. She held that up. Inmate that had just walked by, he now knows that you're a mother of 3, and he's going to use that information against you at some point. Some had pepper spray on their keychains. That was taken off and removed. I don't know if they got it back. The lieutenant actually missed it. At the time, I carried a handcuff key on my keychain, and I don't know, cop in the Coast Guard, I just thought it was cool. Yeah, and cops carry keychain or handcuff keys, whatever. It's kind of like wearing a dog tag in the Marines or so. I don't know how she missed it, but she had walked past that. A couple of tables behind me, I heard her yell out, lock down, shut it all down." And we're looking around, what the fuck? And she was holding up a keychain in her hand. "This right here, this just led to a whole prison escape." Somebody else had a handcuff key on their keychain. And I went, oh shit, that could have just as easily been me. I tell you what came off my keychain the next break that we had, and has never, ever been back on a necklace or keychain that I carried from there. So, life lesson from that point. Some had little folding knives. Those got confiscated. A couple of them, I guess they had forgotten or not paid attention. They had their cell phones in, dip cans. All that got collected up, confiscated. And once she was done making the rounds, we were given a break. And anybody that had whatever confiscated from them come see. I guess they got it back so they could take it to their car. I'm not sure. But that was our first experience of what we would do every single time we went in and out of one of the TDC facilities was a pat down. And if you brought something in you weren't supposed to have, it was taken back out. So that was lesson number 1. Cool. I never forgot it because it was stressful. I mean, even being prior military, it was a stressful thing going through that. Like, okay, some of the realities are starting to set in. At that point, admin stuff started. One of the sergeants, oh, Lord, I'm going to get the names mixed up. I'm sorry. I remember their faces, just names escape me. One of the sergeants did roll call at that point, called out the names, and as your name called out, here, sir, here, sergeant, present, whatever, you had to acknowledge it verbally some way. You couldn't just raise your hand for that. You had to verbally speak out. Once that had been done, called out, was there anybody's names that didn't get called? And folks started standing up. They filed out over to the back. I'm sure it was just a clerical error, whatever. Those of us that were left sitting at the table told us, all right, next up is going to be the PAT, physical agility test. Here's what it consists of. Again, memory fades. At the time, we had to run a certain distance. I remember the parking lot. We basically ran 3 laps around the parking lot. I think it might have been 3/4 of a mile, maybe, which is akin to running 3 laps around a high school track, 440 yards times 3. We had to do that. I don't remember what the time was. I know it was some kind of a ridiculous time. Basically, once you started moving, as long as you didn't stop to walk, you were good. Then there was a set of stairs. I think there was 5 of them. You had to climb up the stairs, go down the other side, turn, climb up the stairs, go down the other side. We had to do that a series of 5 times. They had a ladder that was set up, bolted to the wall. You had to climb up to the top of the ladder. No time for it, just once you started, you couldn't stop. You had to climb up to the top of the ladder, touch the top, climb down. We had to do that a couple of times. I don't remember how many. It might have been 3 times, something of that nature. And then the last thing was affectionately called the dummy drag. There was this simulated dummy, weighted, filled with sand, weights on it, and it was laying down. It had a head, arms, legs. You ran, once the time started, correction, there was no time. Once it started, you jogged over to it, squat down, scoop it up in your arms. Basically, it's back on my chest with my arms up under its arms, and you started dragging it. You didn't pick it up, nothing like that. You scooped it up under its arms and you drug it on the ground. You had to drag it at least 75 yards. Was it 75 yards? Or was it something like that? It was a decent amount. Basically, it simulated there was somebody that was injured. There was a fight, a riot or something going on, and this was either a fellow CO, a staff member, or even an inmate that was injured, and you were dragging them out to safety. There was no time, but once you started, you couldn't stop. You had to keep moving. Didn't matter how slow it was, just had to keep it moving. There was some push-ups that we had to do. There was this foam cube, and that was how you knew to go down far enough. You do your push-up, and once your chest touched the cube, if you went all the way down and crushed it, that didn't count. If your chest didn't touch it, that didn't count either. It was no repetition. They called it no rep. So if you went too far, didn't go far enough, you'd hear no rep. You had to do so many in a certain amount of time. Again, I don't remember. Just get down and start banging them out. Cool. Once all that was done, we went in groups. Okay, so we were broken up into groups of, there were probably about 80 or so of us in this auditorium. Very large amount. Let's just say we're broken up into groups of 15. These 15 are with this instructor doing the stairs. This 15 is doing the run. And you can get where I'm going with that. And once you were done, we would rotate. And we go on from there. Once we were all done with it, at that point, those who didn't pass it, I don't know what happened. I don't know if they got to do a retry at another day, but we had our break after that. We had changed out. That took a little bit of time because there was only so many changing areas. The bathrooms were very small there. I remember it was cold that day. I was in a pair of sweatpants for my workout. I was in a pair of sweatpants, running shoes, and a t-shirt. There was a motley assortment of everything: jogging pants, shorts. Some people didn't bring clothes to do the PAT in, and they were doing it in their blue jeans, their button-down shirts. They were doing it in that. Some were like, yeah, no, I'm not even going to do this, and ended up quitting right on the spot. Okay, cool. We weren't officially employees of TDCJ until we had passed the PAT. Okay, once we had passed that, we took our break. Cool. Changed out again into our dress clothes. Still sweaty, still nasty. It's okay. That's part of TDC life. Changed out into our dress clothes. We went to lunch. I thought it was kind of odd because I'm like, I thought we were supposed to be provided lunch. Didn't say anything. Whatever. Went down the road to the McDonald's, got something to eat, brought it back. Cool. At that point, the room was a lot thinner from there. I don't know if there were some that started the PAT, decided it wasn't for them, why or what, I didn't care. I was there for me. But the room was noticeably thinner by about 20, 30 individuals, okay? Also counting individuals whose names weren't called for roll call that morning. Okay, those of you that are still in the room, you passed your PAT. Congratulations. As of now, you're employees of TDCJ. Your pay and benefits begin from this moment on. Yay, cool, all right, clap hands. Some people were shaking hands with each other. I did the commensurate clap just to be a part of the group and everything. But other than that, I was like, yeah, cool, great. I knew this was going to happen. He said, this pretty much concludes the rest of the day. You're free to return wherever. Be back tomorrow in here in classroom 0645, ready to go. Who's going to require barracks room? And hands started going up. He's like, all right, stop. Those of you who don't need barracks, disperse. You don't have to go home. You can't stay here. People started filing out. Those that lived close by, had houses, whatever, they went where they went. There's a big group of us that were still left that needed housing. It's like, okay. Described it to us. It was a dorm at Sam Houston State University. Now you're thinking to yourself, awesome. We're getting college dorm over at the university? Hell yeah. No. This fucking place should have been torn down years ago before I was there. It was a college dorm that had been deemed unfit for the college students to live in. I'm sure it had asbestos in it. This was probably the first dorm that was built. Sam Houston might have witnessed it being built. Okay. This thing was just ratchet. Okay, he gave us the directions, went down the rules of what we could and couldn't do there, and we left from there in our cars, drove to the academy, drove to the barracks. You had to park pretty far away. There was no parking that was available by this building. All that had been closed off, so it was a pretty good distance to park. I'd say almost about 100 yards away, especially when school was in session. Everybody else had parking permits to be on the campus, so we had to watch where we parked until we got our academy tag so you didn't get your car towed away. Okay, so we parked. Cool. We get up to the place. We go in, and they're passing out room assignments to us. Keys to the room, actual metal key, okay, not key card like is common nowadays. College dorms, I believe, are designed for 2 individuals. maybe, I guess, I don't know, one if you paid for it yourself. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I know in the military, barracks rooms typically were two of us. When we were in any kind of our schooling, they'd cram four of us in these rooms. There were eight of us inside this fucking room, okay? Four bunk beds, eight dudes crammed into the area. No chair, no table, nothing. Just four beds. There was a place to hang your clothes and one toilet, one shower, one little sink, vanity kind of thing. That was the living conditions. All right. Got it. Cool. Got my room. Thing of it was free. We didn't have to pay for it. No tobacco products were allowed in there. However, you could have media. You could have your laptop, DVD player, phone, whatever. When you went down the hallway, there was a little common area. There was, think back to old school classrooms where you had the big box TV mounted up on the wall, called it the monitor. They had one of those. It had basic cable channels. There was a pool table, some busted up pool sticks, couple of pool balls, a soda machine, a snack machine, chairs all around the area, and that was it. It was real close to the walls unit. You could walk from there to the walls unit. That was where I would typically get dinner every night when we were done in the evening. I never had breakfast over there because we had to be in class way too early to get over there for breakfast. And that was how the first day went. Woke up the next morning, put on polo shirt, pants, boots, shaved early on. Not so much in that order. Shaved, got dressed, all that. Oh, that's another thing about the academy room. No HVAC. There was no air, no heat, nothing. You could open the windows, but when it was cold, it was cold. When it started to get hot, it got hot in there. Now imagine 8 human beings crammed into a dorm room. Just your body heat and breath alone is going to make it pretty freaking miserable in there. That was the barracks living there. Woke up the next morning. We were told that one of the academy instructors was going to come by and do a room walkthrough. We were told be out of our rooms we had to be at the academy by 6:45. He was going to be there around 0600. We needed to be out of the rooms at least by 5:45. So imagine the long hallway with everybody shoulder to shoulder standing outside the room. And there was this academy instructor, tall white dude. He was from New York. What he was doing in Texas, I don't know. He came through, had this real pencil thin blondish mustache, and never had a nice thing to say. Dude was just a fucking asshole. I hated that guy, which meant he was doing his job as a TDCJ sergeant. He came in, did his walkthrough. He'd walk in the room, look around, and then once he left, you could leave at that point. That was every day at the academy. Went down to the parking lot, still pretty dark outside, got in the car and drove to the academy. Day 2. I'm going to go ahead and conclude this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you got questions or feedback or how it is nowadays, you want to comment, feel free. If you liked, let me know. If you didn't, let me know. Like, subscribe. Let's keep this channel going and have a good time. Everyone have a happy new year. Stay safe tonight. Enjoy the ball drop. And I'll continue on with more stories as soon as I can. Everyone take care.